Hello, and thank you for joining us for Building Strong Communities. I'm Erica Manny, the Chief Executive Officer for the American Red Cross Central Appalachia region. This show will aim to provide you with vital information to keep you and your loved ones safe and help build a strong and resilient community. The mission of the American Red Cross is to prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. The Red Cross aspires to turn compassion into action so that all people affected by disaster across the country and around the world receive care, shelter, and hope. Our communities are ready and prepared for disasters. Everyone has access to safe, life-saving blood and blood products. All members of our armed services and their families find support and comfort whenever needed. And in an emergency, there are always trained individuals nearby, ready to use their Red Cross skills to save lives. Through this show, we'll provide you with critical, life-saving information for you, your family, and our communities. Over 90% of the work of the Red Cross is accomplished by volunteers. Partnering with community leaders and community organizations is critical to success. Our guest today is one of those community leaders, Dr. Martin S. Roth, who became president of the University of Charleston in July 2018. As a higher education leader, Marty has spent the past 30 years helping universities excel by focusing on the talent acquisition and development needs of students and organizations. Working closely with faculty and staff, he has led increases in enrollments, rankings, retention, student placement and satisfaction, faculty recruiting and research support, alumni engagement, corporate partnering, fundraising, new curriculum design, and the development and launch of online degree programs. At the University of Charleston, they engage the student body and educate each student for a life of productive work, enlightening living, and community involvement. President Marty Roth ensures a community focus, and he himself serves on a number of community organizations' boards, including that of the American Red Cross Central Appalachia region, where he also chairs the Biomedical or Blood Committee. President Roth, I'm thrilled to welcome you to the show.
Thanks so much, Erica. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate the invitation.
So, can you tell us a little about yourself?
Sure. I grew up in Pittsburgh, not too far away from where we sit right now. Did my education at the University of Pittsburgh, so no breaking out into Sweet Caroline today, please. Spent probably the first half of my life in Pittsburgh. Worked in retail pharmacy, worked for a market research firm, and after earning my doctorate degree, transitioned to higher education. So I began my academic journey with a faculty position at Boston College. I was at BC for 8 years. That's where my wife Lynn and I met, playing basketball, BC. Then moved on to the University of South Carolina, where I was on the faculty and served in various administrative roles for 16 years. Then the University of Hartford as Dean of the Business School for 5 years, and now here at UC as President for the last 6 years.
Well, we are so grateful for that. And as you know, the University of Charleston is a centerpiece of the capital city. And your leadership is critical to the involvement of the university with our area and our communities. How do you see the role of the university?
Yeah, that's a great question and a really important point. So one of the things that we're very passionate about is really being Charleston's university. I can't tell you how many people, when I first arrived in Charleston and got to know them and having great introductory conversations, said, if Charleston's going to be a thriving city, it needs to have a thriving university. And for people who were members of the community but not necessarily alums of the university, may not have had anybody in their family that ever attended our university, to feel so strongly about UC being successful. And by success, they meant not only thriving in terms of offering contemporary educational programs, but really being involved in the community. We host lots of events on campus that we welcome the community to, lots of athletic events and speaking events, cultural events, so on and so forth. But one of the other things that people would share with me is we'd really love to see the university downtown more often. And of course, they didn't mean pick up the university. They meant we want to see your students downtown. We want to see your faculty, your staff downtown. And so that kind of started a journey where we put together a working group where we would meet regularly with representatives of the city and the KRT transportation service and the Town Center Mall and different kind of business leaders in the community and the Clay Center and so forth, and talk about what are the different activities that are happening in town and in the valley that our students and our employees would benefit from attending and participating in, but also what are the things where we would love to see community members come to campus. And so that's been an important part of how we try to make sure that we are really embedded and a really valued member of the community.
And you speak of, all the ways that the university is involved. How do you also get the students involved?
Yeah, so part of it is, why does a student decide to attend a college or university? They're savvy customers. They have lots of choices, and I think our mission really resonates with a lot of students, that we're going to prepare each and every student, regardless of what location, regardless of what they study, for three things: a life of productive work, enlightened living, and community involvement. So productive work, we're focused on a lot of applied, experiential learning. All of our students are doing internships, clinical rotations, service learning projects, working on research with faculty. They're applying what they've learned in real-world situations. Enlightened living, we want to make sure that all members of our community are increasingly aware and have a deeper understanding of important contemporary issues, whether they be health issues like substance use disorders, how we navigate crises and disasters, issues around the environment, issues around social justice, and so forth. But that third pillar is community involvement. And people come to UC to work and to study because that's something that's important to them. They want community service and community engagement to be a part of their lives. So it's not a hard sell for us, fortunately, but we're also very purposeful about it. So members of our community are involved in different things. They're part of an academic program, or they're part of an athletic team, or they're part of a school. And each of those different units on campus do their own kind of community service activities. We also feel it's important that we do community service as an entire family at the university. So we use the Labor Day holiday to do that. We call it Labor of Love Day. And everybody in our community will do 2 hours of community service in the morning. We'll do 2 shifts. We have buses coming onto campus and loading up and taking students and faculty and staff throughout the city and the valley, doing all kinds of things. It might be washing fire trucks, or doing some gardening work, picking up trash, walking dogs at the Humane Society, all different types of activities. And so we'll do 2 hours of community service. Buses will come back, load up another group, another 2 hours of community service. So in that morning, we'll typically do 2,000 hours of community service here in the Charleston area. And then we'll celebrate Labor Day more traditionally by having a family-style picnic. So we'll have games on our back lawn and barbecue and so forth. And that's become a kind of great tradition at UC that we all look forward to every year.
Well, as a member of the community, we see it, and we're grateful for all the community involvement. And now we will take a break and be back to building strong communities after this quick break. Stay tuned.
You made this vacation happen, cleverly merging promotions,
double points with every purchase,
and cross-referencing travel sites. Aloha! If you can ace your vacation, you can do it for retirement. Get on track with tips at aceyourretirement.org.
Welcome back to the show. President Roth, you've been talking about the importance of community involvement at the University of Charleston. You yourself have been volunteering on the local American Red Cross board for several years now, and we're grateful for your leadership and your partnership. Can you tell us what inspired you to become a member of the board and to be a leader in our biomed committee?
Yeah, I've been involved with being a volunteer, primarily donating blood with the American Red Cross for decades, but I think my involvement kind of ratcheted up a level when our daughter, who was in elementary school at the time, had a very close friend, and as a young child, unfortunately, was diagnosed with cancer. And had to go through some really aggressive treatments, and we learned from the family about how important receiving platelets were going to be for his treatment. And so I kind of transitioned from doing the traditional blood donation to doing platelet donations. And it really kind of gave me an appreciation, first of all, of how important those donations are when it really becomes personal for somebody that you know that kind of really needs this type of community assistance. And also, it's a whole different process, and it's takes a little bit longer, and there's more staff involved, and you're in a little different part of the facility. So it just kind of opened my eyes to the additional kind of complexity of what the American Red Cross does, and we're not even talking about all the kind of great work that we do on the disaster and relief side. So just over the years, I've had a really deep appreciation for the important work that the Red Cross does. I've certainly had my share of medical procedures, as have other members of my family. And as we're fortunate as a society, we don't really question that we're going to be able to schedule a procedure and blood's going to be available. We take it for granted here, but it's not something that just kind of pops up in a lab. It has to be other human beings that are donating that blood. So I think it's an extremely important organization, a very noble mission. And when I got situated in town and we had a chance to get to know each other, I was really honored to be asked to serve on the board.
Well, it has certainly been our honor to have your leadership, and you've led a lot of initiatives to make sure people know the importance of blood and that they can give. And one of the things that you've done that's really fun is you've created a blood battle, so to speak, between the University of Charleston and West Virginia State University. So locally, we've got our two universities really focused on giving blood, and you started that just about a little over 4 years ago.
Right.
And since then, about 1,000 units of blood and counting just from that initiative alone. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I wonder if you can talk about how the faculty, staff, and students have responded.
Sure. Yeah, it's been a fun journey. When we first introduced it, they were like, "What are you asking us to do?" But fortunately, we have more students studying in healthcare programs than any other discipline. So the notion of giving blood is really not foreign to a lot of our students. They kind of understand the importance of us doing so. So the first step was really kind of reaching out to my peers at West Virginia State at the time. It was President Jenkins and now Eric Cage. And they were very enthusiastic about participating with us on this important community activity. And every year we align it with our annual football game. It's always the last game of the season because we compete in the same athletic conference, so there's a long-standing rivalry athletically between our two institutions, but we do like to do things together. We have other type of articulation agreements and so forth because we're in the same business of really trying to serve students and help them achieve their personal and professional goals. So every year we do usually 2-day blood drives on each of our campuses, and we get to see which campus was able to generate the most units of blood. How many people were willing to come in and donate. And the battles are close. I think the last 2 times there's only been a difference of about 3 or 4 units. So we're having to each get a little more innovative, a little more creative to get folks there. But it's the first thing I do when I come in, during those 2 days to donate blood myself, as I'm kind of peppering the volunteers. Hey, have you been busy? You've had a lot of people. Have you had to turn anybody away? Because we really want to win, and we appreciate the Red Cross kind of participating and the designing a trophy that kind of gets presented at halftime of the game, and we do that in the fall, and then we'll do it again in the spring for basketball. So it's really a lot of fun and become, I think, a really nice tradition on both of our campuses.
Well, as a leader at the university and in the community, you certainly step up and show that you feel it's important to give blood. You're always giving, right there with the faculty, staff, students, and you host blood drives at the school, not only for the blood battle, but throughout the whole year.
Sure.
And with that, it is so important for leaders of organizations to show that level, of commitment. And we see the success is just so much greater when the folks in charge of an organization, if you will, the leaders come to the table and say, it's important to us, and we'll give time and ability for those who work with us and are part of the education system with us to come and give in this way. So, with all of that said, you inspire a lot of people to give blood, and I would love if you would just maybe share with the audience now what you think about the importance of giving blood.
Yeah, I think it is very important. I mean, it's simply life-saving. Is what it is. We're all going to have injuries and illnesses, and members of our family and loved ones are going to, and we're going to require medical procedures where blood is going to be necessary for those procedures to be successful. And it's we lead by words, but we lead by doing. We lead by example. We can kind of talk the talk, but do we walk the walk? And I think that's something that's important, that all folks who have an opportunity and kind of evolve into a successful leaders find that that's so critically important. And I see you doing the same thing when the Red Cross steps up and does the disaster relief. You're one of the first people in the car or on the plane. It's not just, okay, what volunteers are we going to send, and give me a call, let me know how it's doing. When your staff and your volunteers see you out there, they say, wow, this really is important. This really is what this organization is all about, that everybody is rolling up their sleeves and kind of jumping into what we say is important. And community service is important to us. When we do our Labor of Love Day, I'm going to be out there side by side with the students and our employees, doing important work that's going to make our community a better place to study, a better place to work, and a better place to live. And we wanted people to have the same mindset when it comes to donating blood, and when it comes to other types of service that the Red Cross supports, the Red Cross performs to support our community.
Well, thank you for setting the tone and for helping to build strong communities. And please stay tuned to hear more from University of Charleston President Marty Roth after this short break.
I'm Ferdinand. You look at me and think big. You think scary. But I'm a little misunderstood. Sorry, I almost killed you. Kids with learning and attention issues are misunderstood too. Take the time to understand. Learn more at understood.org.
Welcome back to the show. President Roth, you mentioned before the break that Red Cross responds to disasters. And the most common disaster that we respond to here and across the country is home fires. And with that, we do an initiative that you have supported greatly at the University of Charleston, and that is called Sound the Alarm. I wonder if you could talk to us a little bit about, why you get involved and how the students feel about being involved in that program.
Sure. One of the things we often take for granted is that if a fire were to occur somewhere, that there's going to be a operating early warning system. So you see in industrial buildings, there's fire detectors and sprinklers and so forth. But in homes, it really becomes up to the resident, whether it's a homeowner or a renter, to make sure that not only are there smoke alarms installed, but they're operational. They have batteries that are working, and you're testing the unit to make sure it's working properly. Because those they make a lot of noise, and they're typically going to wake most people up out of a sound sleep. And when you hear it, you know what it means. You know what to do. You know to kind of check on your loved ones, your pets, and get out of the building. Call 911 and let the professionals come and take over. But if you don't get that warning, then oftentimes things can go sideways pretty quickly. So the Sound the Alarm initiative is designed to make sure that we're doing everything we can in the community where we live to have as many smoke alarms properly installed and fully functional and operational. And that just requires a lot of a lot of hands and a lot of feet climbing up on ladders and so forth. So we've been really fortunate that a couple of our athletic teams, our football team and some of our soccer teams have really embraced the project. And when we do the focused Sound the Alarm initiatives, we're going to dedicate a couple days to really kind of infiltrating a particular neighborhood or community and do everything we can, knock on doors, go in, do a quick check, and when we see that the smoke alarms aren't present or they need to be replaced, that we have volunteers there who have had sufficient training that they can do that testing and installation. So our students really love doing that. They're very active. They much prefer to do rather than talk, and for some of them, they much prefer to be on the operating side of the instruments as opposed to kind of receiving the needle in the arm to donate blood, and we understand that. So it's been a really great initiative, and I know our coaches and our student athletes really enjoy that opportunity to be engaged with the Red Cross for this Sound the Alarm initiative.
Well, thank you. And you hit on something there that we like to say at the Red Cross. There's something for everyone to do at the Red Cross. Mm-hmm. You can give time, you can give blood, you can give money. Mm-hmm. And so we are quite grateful, mm-hmm. that University of Charleston and you lead the way in being involved and making sure people know how to, get the services of the Red Cross, mm-hmm. and maybe how to get involved in giving the services at the Red Cross.
Yeah, absolutely, and it really hit close to home for us. Probably about a year ago now, there was a really devastating fire in an apartment complex on Kanawha Boulevard, and one of our employees was a resident there, and just like that, lost his home, lost all of his possessions. And of course, on campus, we kind of rallied around him and tried to provide him with things that he needed. But before we got there, the Red Cross was there. The Red Cross was first on the scene, trying to make sure that all of the residents were accounted for, that steps were being taken to make sure that they would have safe housing, and working with other community organizations to make sure that they were able to, as much as you can in that situation, kind of resume some normalcy in your life, have a place to stay and be able to go back to work and kind of do the types of things so you're just not kind of standing across the street looking at your kind of, what had been your a big part of your life in ashes, right? And, seeing the Red Cross kind of mobilize so quickly close to home when we know that, we're going everywhere throughout our region, and when duty calls, we're going to other locations like Hawaii when there was such devastation, from the volcano or whatever the case may be. So, that was really something that, again, we kind of know that the Red Cross does a lot, but when you kind of hits somebody, in your family, in your network, it really drives the point home.
Well, thank you. And, you all were such great advocates for, your student that was impacted. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned it, if people are experiencing anything like a home fire, mm-hmm. or, flood, et cetera, disaster, then the Red Cross provides casework and financial assistance to help them, have a safe place to stay, have food to eat, have clothing, and those basic necessities after an immediate disaster. So with that, we work with a lot of organizations, and you too volunteer and work with a lot of organizations, volunteering your time and your leadership, your skills. Can you talk a little bit about some of the organizations outside of the Red Cross that you're also involved with?
Sure. I think we're all very busy, and we want to contribute to our communities, but you want to do it in a way that is going to be personally meaningful, and that the time that you do dedicate is really going to make a difference. So economic development is very important to me, and I think that kind of aligns with our purpose of being Charleston's university. So I've really enjoyed serving on the board of the Charleston Area Alliance, which is kind of an economic development driver here in the Valley, being involved in the local Rotary organization, which also has a very strong dedication to service. So kind of enjoy the opportunity to hear from colleagues and guest speakers come in and have lunch with folks in the community. So those are a couple of the organizations that I've been involved with. Certainly, we have lots of different organizations that we work directly with at the university, and one of the points of pride is we have probably over 1,000 active military personnel enrolled as students in the university through the growth that we've been able to experience serving the adult learning market through online education. So I think there's a nice synergy there with the Red Cross's commitment to the armed forces and what the service that we like to provide military personnel for the great commitment that they make to our country. So it's really kind of finding those connection points, finding those synergies where there's personal reward, there's also organizational benefit, and you're doing good for the community.
So you get to see a lot of the inner workings of the organizations that you're involved in, and you've mentioned some organizations that we work closely with too at the Red Cross. I wonder if you might be able to tell us from your time as a board member and leader at the Red Cross, what is, I guess, most interesting or remarkable to you about the mission of the Red Cross?
Yeah, I think a couple of things stand out to me. One is just simply the passion of your staff. They just kind of care deeply about the mission, about the important work that they do. But it's clear that they care about each other, and they care about the board members and the volunteers. So when I have the opportunity to participate in meetings and other types of activities, you really feel that right away. That kind of sense of warmth, sense of gratitude, and really, it's really a nice feeling. The other thing is being a member of the board. You kind of see a little bit more of the inner workings and what's the method behind the madness. And I have been pleasantly surprised about how analytic the Red Cross is. The dashboards and the metrics that you use on a regular basis is, it's a very disciplined organization, very committed to outcomes and really thinking deeply about what processes, what activities are going to help us generate the outcomes that we feel are important.
Well, thank you for joining us and for inspiring others to reach out to become a part of the Red Cross or receive our services. And we hope you've enjoyed this episode of Building Strong Communities. Contact your local Red Cross or the number on the screen, visit our website, or follow us on social media to learn more about the services provided by Red Cross in your community and how you can get involved. Thank you so much for watching and for building strong communities.